Hey guys, Ryan and Sue here. We're in Florida. We're under our camper here, and we're going to talk about our solar system today. So you guys have seen us put some of this stuff in the camper over time. It's a 30-foot fifth wheel. We started out with some Battleborn batteries and one Victron inverter. We had some problems. We expanded. So we'll go into that. Essentially, if you've watched any of the Will Prowse videos, you've seen what I consider a design flaw, in my opinion. The way that Battleborn decided to manufacture this with the plastic in between the two connections. Again, this is my opinion that it's a design flaw, and yeah, argue Battleborn all day long because as a lifelong electrician, 20 plus years in the solar industry, one thing I know is when you make a connection between like a bus bar and a lug, you bolt them tight to each other and you put the bolt through to hold them together. The connection is actually, the electrical connection is actually the lug to the bus bar. The bolt is there just to hold them tight together. You never put something in the middle, like you never put a washer in the middle. That just adds resistance. And what Battleborn did, if you didn't watch the Will Prowse videos, is on their positive stud, and I believe they're negative too. They have the plates coming up from the battery. They have a plastic filler, and then they have the positive stud, and then they have an aluminum bolt that goes through it. So as soon as you start to build any heat in that battery, that plastic starts to flow, and the positive stud loosens up, which then creates more heat, and you run into this thermal runaway situation where things are just going to melt down. Some of the videos Will did were pretty impressive. The damage that's been shown by some of the other people that run these. They don't think it's going to burn your camper down. They say it's going to open the circuit. But if you look at it, there's a plate, there's a bus bar, and there's a bolt that goes through. By melting the plastic out of the middle, all you've done is created a high resistance connection, which creates heat, right? It doesn't open. It's not like a thermal fuse or something like that, or a circuit breaker that opens. So with that, we've made the decision because this is our bed right here above us. We've made the decision we don't feel comfortable with Battleborn batteries in our RV. I wouldn't put Battleborn batteries in anything anymore. They need to step up. They need to fix this. Um, a lot of people are suffering this. They don't even know there's a problem because the battery will actually still pass voltage because remember I said it's high resistance. And as soon as you start to load it, the battery fails. We have tested all three of our strings. All three are actually carrying power. We ran a 50 amp load and tried one string at a time. It ran just fine. So we know that we haven't started that process yet. But that Battleborn battery problem with the Victron problem. So let's talk about the Victron problem. We have a 3 kVA multi-plus. We actually have two of them now. We started with one because we don't have much for load. What we found was that every time we'd unplug from the power pedestal at a campground, the inverter would go into overload if the air conditioner was running. So we like to leave our AC running on travel days because we only travel 3 or 4 hours and we have the equipment to do so. It will go into overload, everything would shut down. It takes a few minutes, it starts back up. So maybe you consider that not a big deal. I don't think it should do that. We worked with an ambassador at Victron to try to tune the Victron. We've got it like in UPS mode, I think they call it, still no love. So what we did was we added a second inverter. And we tried putting all the loads on one inverter and the air conditioner on another. Nothing really seemed to matter. We still suffered that. I'd say 95% of the time when we disconnect at a campground, we have that overload issue. Um, we have had it overload a couple times just running. I think once the air conditioner was on, I'm trying to remember what else. It was minor things like maybe the fridge and the deep freeze came on at the same time. The thing to think about with these is while they say they're 3 kVA, they're only about 2,400 watts. So that adds up. That problem added up. We added more weight by adding a second one, more complexity, and most importantly, as Sue had pointed out, idle draw. So by adding a second inverter, we're up somewhere around probably 75 watts of idle draw now on this system. So when we're boondocking, we're drawing just shy of 100 watts 24/7 just to keep our equipment lit up. Say nothing about running any loads in the camper. So we've made some hard decisions. We've decided that we're going to rip everything out. We're going to get rid of it, and we're going to upgrade. We are not going to go into details of what we're doing in this video. That'll be another video. We'll get the new stuff on the bench, the old stuff on the bench, and we'll show you. We are going to upgrade to 48 volt system, and we are going to go to 200 amp hours of battery instead of 150. Well, this would be 150 at 48. It's 300 at 24. We won't get into Ohm's law for this video. One of the things I want to do is I want to run a single string of batteries at 50 amps, which is the Battleborn recommended power level. And I'm not going to do it for very long because I already know I'm taking these out. I don't need any convincing on my part. And I want to show you what happens when we run those batteries at 50 amps for 10 minutes, and we'll show you the temperature rise. So I'm going to grab the camera. I'm going to show you what we have. Sue's going to take that phone call because it's important. So here's our 6 Battleborns. You'll see they're wired in 2 and 2 and 2. So 2 in series for 24 volts. They run into the Lynx power in. We have the Lynx shunt, and then we have the Lynx distributor with all the fusing in it. We do have the Serbo GX. We have the Victron MPPT 15035, and we have the Victron Orion 70 amp DC to DC converter. That runs all of our loads in the RV, our jacks, our lights, everything. We do not have a 12 volt battery in the system. There's our 2 Multi-Plus. Now, fun fact is we did go with the Multi-Plus over the Multi-Plus 2 because the ambassador we were working with told us that they had a better surge capability. So that's why we did that. Another issue we have with this system is that these batteries will not cold start one of those inverters. So in order to light the system up, if you just turn the battery breakers on, the battery's BMS will just keep pulsing. And we actually burnt up the Lynx shunt once doing that. It pulsed, I don't know, 8 or 10 times. And I don't know if it was a low voltage or what caused the problem. The shunt quit, so we had to replace that. So we've had to actually make a breaker with a resistor inside the breaker, wired in, and a couple alligator clips. And what we do is we put that across the breaker terminals on the battery, and we turn just this on, and it will pre-charge slowly into the inverters, ramp them up and fill them. And when the lights start to come on, then you can turn all the breakers on and everybody's happy. But that's another thing that we want to get away from, because if something ever was to happen to me and Sue had to try to turn the system on, that may be a complication for her to figure out. We just want it to be simple. We want it to work, and want to do what we want it to do. A fun fact is, by doing this upgrade, we're going to gain battery capacity. We're going to gain 2.5 kilowatt hours of battery capacity. We're going to get about the same amount of inverter capacity as we have now. And we're going to lose about 40 or 50 pounds, the best I can tell. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to jump out of here. I'm going to do a 10-minute run at 50 amps on these batteries and show you what I see. So we'll be right back. All right, guys, so we've been running 10 minutes at, let me get out of your way, 50 amps on this one string. And I'm not sure how easy it's going to be for you guys to see this. Not very. I'll put some pictures in of these batteries, but you can see definitely some pretty good temperature rise already. Specifically this battery, I noticed, like, if I back up, you can see how even down in the battery. And I apologize, I should have screen capture software for my FLIR, right? Well, it's not a FLIR, it's a knockoff, but yeah. So that's pretty interesting. We'll get a couple snippets and we'll put that in there. But as I said, that's running on 2 batteries, running 50 amps for 10 minutes now. And they're already, in the 90-something degree range. I have a feeling, and it's cool here, I'm going to guess it's probably 60 degrees Fahrenheit. So if this door was closed on this baggage bay and we were in a, say, 40 degree C ambient in here instead, my guess is we'd be probably in the 110 to 120 degree range already on this battery in 10 minutes. Okay, so as you saw, we ran for about 10 minutes and these batteries rose around the terminals considerably in temperature for a 10-minute run in my mind. They should be able to do that 24/7, right? That's the kind of the goal. And the ambient is actually pretty cool here right now in Florida. It's about 60 degrees. So if I had this baggage door closed and we were in a warmer climate, I believe we would, like I said, I believe we would have seen probably a 125, 130 degrees. So you can certainly see where this could be an issue. I'm not going to let it run for 2 or 3 hours and see what happens or see if a battery goes into thermal runaway. I already know I'm changing it. I'm not interested in damaging the batteries any more than they, well, not really damaged, but I'm not interested in causing a problem. I just wanted to show you a short 10-minute run and the temperature rise. So I hope that explains it all. We'll bring you back when we're ready to put the new system in, and we'll show you what we're going to do.